Eastern Europe has been under the Nazi boot for 17 years now. Concentration camps litter the landscape from Warsaw to Moscow, imprisoning the 30 million slaves that built them. Jews, Slavs, Africans, Asians, all but the Aryan race are considered Untermensch. This system can only last for so long. Eventually, things are bound to change, and as the Führer lays to rest, the cogs begin to turn. Today, I attempt to liberalize the Reich, fighting with Albert Speer in the Civil War, dismantling slave conglomerates, and being forced to face the repercussions of the system we allowed to happen, where so much pain and suffering took place, and where the enemy has nothing to lose. Hi, I'm Colonel Cam, and welcome to 12 years as Speers Germany in the New Order. Hello guys, this is actually going to be my first video where I base the transitions off events instead of years. Let me know if you guys enjoy it because I think it's a good idea. Anyway, this game was a blast with a great story behind it, so sit back and relax, like and subscribe, and let's get straight into it. Alright guys, welcome back to TNO. Last time I played this mod, I formed the Russian Federation and did a two-part series, where I took out Germany as the Russian Federation and reconquered all my lost land as Russia, but now we're going to be playing Germany. In fact, I'm going to do the better, or what people call the best German path, the Albert Speer path, where we kind of liberalize the Reich. When I play these mods, I don't actually spoil anything for myself, so everything is my genuine reaction. Coming into this, all I knew was that Albert Speer was a reformer, and little did I know what I had in store waiting for me. Yeah, we can't train, disband, yada yada. We're going to go into a civil war anyway. And oh, I forget that I have to organize all my factories now. After reorganizing all my factories and then deciding what to build, I came across some lore about Albert Speer, which I'm going to sum up for you really quickly so you don't have to read it. Basically, he was one of Hitler's closest friends and he was an architect by profession. During the war, he became radicalized by the party and introduced slavery to help war production. However, now he feels bad about it and speaks out against it, and now he's like the center of a reformist campaign. Yeah, just because he's a reformer doesn't make him a good guy, but now we're here and this is where we're left off. Okay, here's a address to the nation. Today, the world watches as one of the most significant moments of the 20th century prepares to take place. So we're going to go the reformer, Albert Speer, and then we get the power struggle decisions. It's literally just decision makes influence go up. Bigger decision, bigger chance of winning civil war. You guys would know that if you've been watching my videos for a while. My Martin Bormann campaign was actually my first ever playthrough in TNO. It's a bit of an older video, but I'm still proud of that intro. Alright, Gang of Four. The Reich is a grantic edifice, firmly under the Führer's control. The Gang of Four play a much larger role later in this video. Essentially, they see Speer as a threat, but they are actually more reformist than Speer himself, so they see him as a threat and not reformist enough. But he's really the only option they have, so they invited him out to dinner. So he's been invited for dinner, and he's attended the dinner, okay. Status of the Dominican Republic. Decisions to aid Trujillo will be unlocked. We're about to go into a civil war, and I'm not spending political power on the Dominican Republic. Okay, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the civil war does start this year. And I would be correct, as the death of the Führer himself would ignite the flames. However, before that happened, I got this decision to secure Bohemia, so I did that. Done. Deal. We lost a bunch. I think we lost some things there, but that was cost a lot of political power, man. That must have been good. Look, I've already like pretty much finished the doctrine. Look at this. 300 political power goes down. Wait, I'm at 289 though, so it won't even be that much. Anyway, the Führer died. The death of Hitler. Speer has risen up. After the recent chaos of the Reich, Albert Speer and his divisions loyal to him have begun a rebellion in the northwest of Germany. Armed students have taken over the government buildings in the area, and student uprisings have been reported throughout the country. Our country now continues to crumble as the first sparks of the civil war have begun. The civil war begins. While tensions have been rising between the various factions in the Reich for years, nobody quite expected the explosion of violence that came shortly after the death of the Führer. There it is. Okay, now where are we? Okay, we got the cool flag. We have a very cool flag. Where are we? Oh, we're here. Nice. Okay. We have quite a few units. I'm liking this. Now, Albert Speer starts in a pretty good position. I'd say this is the second best position one starts in, except for Martin Bormann. To the north, we border a weak Hermann Göring. That isn't really a big front line, and we can pretty much take it out easily. And to our south, we border both Bormann and Heydrich, where they're probably fighting each other more than me. My first attempt at attacking was into Heydrich, securing the south of the Rhineland. Thinking back on it now, I probably should have let Bormann fight him, but whatever. We can push him back here. Alright, we've just disrupted their supply lines, so they're out of supply. And this should be not too hard. These guys are on our side. Yeah. Okay, so they declared war and they're our puppet. I wouldn't have called them in until... Oh, this song's good. I didn't finish my sentence. I got distracted about how good the soundtrack was. Anyway, the push into Göring's territory went very well, and I cut them off from Denmark. Bormann's Germany is strong, though. Oh, these are the students that rose up. Where else? Oh, nice. Okay, we can take out Heydrich's Germany probably completely. They control that, which we'll just take, right? I had a lot of students rising up in many of the major cities on the enemy territory, which was pretty cool. So I just got them to station in big cities. Hopefully they would capitulate. At some point between when I started invading Göring and now they've capitulated. I don't remember when that was. But Heydrich is next on the chopping block as we approach Danzig. Oh no! Our Bohemian friends have gone. That's fine. They'll be back shortly. Next year, actually, hopefully. Well, let's go. I'm tempted to just play with, like, the soundtrack on. Just for, like, because it's so good, man. Breslau. I think that'll be it. That'll do it. Breslau, and then this... Wait, these are two different ones. Oh, yeah. They are. And then... Oh, but then we will need Katowice as well. Basically, we still got a ton of victory points left to get, and then I realized Bormann was getting his own partisans behind the front line. But they weren't as effective as my students. They just kind of spawned in on some random countryside without supply, so I could easily take them out. And from here on in, I just slowly crushed Bormann from both sides. I didn't even have to micro anymore. Done. That's 100. Yep, we did it. Munich captured, and we have won the Civil War. Hey, we got it. Okay, we're good. We're back to being Germany, but we got Albert Speer, okay? Gives us political power gain, which is pretty good. And look at this. What is this? The state of the Reich. Okay, it's time to introduce you guys to this mechanic. Now, this whole thing was a pain in the ass the whole entire playthrough. Essentially, we can be conservative or reformist, and we can use propaganda to lean either way, but it didn't really do that. And then there's social outlook and conservative, liberal, social economy outlook. I don't know. It was all just a pain in the ass. However, there was one very important thing, regime stability. And if regime stability would drop below 30%, my government would collapse. Okay, well, I think we should hold a speech. It increases regime stability. I think that's a good idea. Look at this. I mean, I might as well do all this, right? Regime stability just keeps going up if I do these things. But during the Civil War, all of our former colonies had gone and done their own thing, so I gotta go invade and take them back under our control. Oh, report on emergency in Great Britain. Oh, this is something I actually want to deal with. Yeah, because Great Britain are no longer in the Einspakt. It'll be added, a new page will be added to global conflicts. What's this? Oh, it appears I've stumbled across the slave conglomerates or the corporate monopolies that use slaves. This comes in way later in the video, so stay tuned for when I dismantle them. But right now we have a more pressing matter, the Channel Crisis. Her Majesty's loyal resistance has overthrown our cooperative government, you could say. And now the OFN are looking to back that government, which greatly threats the security of our nation. Oh, and now, of course, there's South Africa. Oh, true. I can't do any of this until something's been accepted, so I'll go over here. Unfortunately, the South African war isn't my top priority right now, and I can't really invest political power into it because I've got the Channel Crisis to deal with. There's a lot of things to keep track of. I forget this mod is crazy. Now, while I was doing this Channel Crisis thing, I had no idea what I was doing. And while I was playing, I didn't feel like reading all that. Don't worry, I do read all the important events and stuff, but stuff like this, I just couldn't be bothered. You know when you buy something and it comes with a set of instructions, but you don't read them because you think you can just figure it out yourself? Yeah, that's pretty much what happened here, but I couldn't figure it out. I'll be unlocked. The opponent's readiness now comes into play. The breaking point timer would now begin. Okay, so this is the point where their readiness matters, apparently. This is confrontation. Look at our readiness. If both of our readiness is in the red, I think that's not very good. This will increase regime stability. This will decrease. I want to salvage everything. I want to salvage it all. We're leaving Africa, okay? I'm not dealing with that. Okay, they're definitely in the red. They've got like, this is like definitely got so many nukes on this island that they could blow our whole like country apart. Fortunately, the negotiation option came available, but before we could complete our negotiations, the timer ran out. We are reformist, right? I'm opening negotiations. Is that one of our demands? I'll accept that. Why? I don't like this breaking point thing. Germans retreat from the channel. So it seems that we lost, but I think it's fine. Well, speaking from post-commentary, it didn't really impact us that much, so it's not a big deal. All while this was going on, I had been preparing invasions for Eastern Europe to get it back under control, such as Ostland, Ukraine, Moscow, and the Caucasus. There we go. Ostland is back under our control. Can we do any others? No, they're all like still in a civil war, and we can't really do anything about it. Regime stability increases by 10%, and we add a prison. Would you look at that? As a result of this, several democratic countries have protested against what appeared to be a purge in disguise, but this didn't deter the government in Germany. After several months, Speer has achieved a double result. Not only has he tightened his grip on the party, but the German people are also much more supportive of his regime. Yep, he's definitely a reformer, reforming the party in his own image. That's what he's doing. Here we go. I was looking down at South Africa. We're at war with Ukraine. Right, let's go. Let's go pacify them. 100% pacify. What happened? Oh, we defeated them that easily. I thought it was going to at least take going to Kharkov. Next was Moscow, so I went and dealt with that. We can reorganize Moscow. We get 5% regime stability. We get a bunch of command power. And then I looked back down at South Africa. It looked alright when I last checked it. Everything was normal. And now everything has fallen apart and the Republic of South Africa is beating us. Attack helicopter company. Apparently this is really good. Apparently, I don't know. Where am I getting... Am I making attack helicopters? Improved scout, transport, attack heli. There we go. Yeah, apparently these are really good. People were saying when I was doing my Russian Federation video, they're like, use the attack helicopters. They're good. So, yeah, I'm using them. All right, here we go. This focus here. We get 3 events. As well as everything has been going so far, there is a catch. There's always a catch. Glenn brings yet more concerning news to the Führer's desk. There is something else, something beyond mere Saditas students and mutinous officers. A sword over the swastika. Speer felt a chill run down his spine as he read through the R&D report on underground movements in the Reich. Are you certain this is accurate, Glenn? I'm positive, my Führer. It's like that many junior members of such organizations were beneath the Gestapo's notice at the time. I wouldn't be surprised if they kept to their beliefs in secret all these years. Speer continued scanning the list, then his breath caught, as his eyes did, on the final name listed. Reichs Banner Schwarzrot Gold. Speer didn't recognize the name straight away, but something about it... Something about it seemed, of course. Spartacus? Speer looked up at Glenn, horrified comprehension drawing on his face. He knew his history well enough to understand. Do you mean to say that? It could be misdirection, however yes, it's possible that it means exactly what it implies. One could have heard the pin drop in the Führer's office, Speer sputtered. But we're trying to... I know, my Führer, interrupted Glenn, but our efforts may have not been enough. They will come, and they will be millions. What do you mean there'll be millions? Well, I got millions too. Actually, I got 1.29 million. So it seems there is an underground organization that is calling themselves Spartacus, and if you know anything about history, then, well, you can kind of see where this is going. Going back to the crisis in South Africa, I managed to secure an OFN-leaning ceasefire, but it's not OFN-leaning, it's like total OFN dominance. Like, have a look at this. That is oh my days. That is a terrible ceasefire, but it's a ceasefire nonetheless. And it is, at least we still have some control in Africa. Dude, they took so much. Okay, I'm going to serve the Wehrmacht problem. Division recovery. Okay, it gets rid of Wary Wehrmacht, which is good. Unfortunately, like straight after we lost Africa, some guy took it over. I don't know who he is, but it's irrelevant for the rest of the game now. A new decision category in the economic GUI's actions against corporations. Okay, so I think this is actually... Okay, we can now do whatever this thing is. This has just become unlocked. Remember when I said this mechanic was coming later in the video? Well, that time is now. Each color-coded region represents where a company controls a bunch of slaves. For example, the grayed out region in Bavaria is under the influence of what we now know as Mercedes-Benz, and I must lower the influence in each of their respective regions in order to dismantle the company. What is this? The Fate of the East. It has decided that the Reich's conquest shall be organized as Reich's slander. Reich's slander. We got Belarus and then the Baltics and the Caucasus. They all look the same. I don't know what I don't know what impact that had, but okay. Anyway, the first company I was looking to dismantle was Reichswerk, the orange one. And when I saw how little each decision did, I knew that this was going to be a long process. When this number reaches 0, I can do this. And then this, I don't know what this does, but I can... maybe do something with the companies there? At the time, I was still trying to figure this out, so bear with me. But then I got hit with something, a division limit. Oh, we can only have 100 divisions? Okay, hang on, let me delete 19 of them then. I can now do the antitrust directive. I did it. Look, it just made it from untouched to powerful. Are you kidding? That is going to be so much effort. Oh my gosh, and that's only gone down this much, and then we can dismantle it when that's at 0? Yep, so this is going to be a long process, but don't worry, you guys aren't going to sit through all of it. I'll take the burden, guys, don't worry. So all this blue is where there's no cartel. There's no slavery. Oh look, the slaves have gone down. It was at 33 million, now it's at 31 million. That's a lot of slaves, Jesus. You know, I went and did some research on how many slaves that actually is. Compared to the USA at the outbreak of their civil war, which had 10 million, we've got 3 times that amount. Boom. No more slaves in Crimea. Now it's at 50%. I got to get rid of all the orange ones. I then got a proposal from this guy named Schmidt. Now remember his name, he's very important to the story. Schmidt says to Speer that if any sort of reformist action is going to take place, the slaves need to be negotiated with. Now Schmidt is part of this secret gang of 4 who are more reformist than Speer is. Now Albert Speer, the Führer, shoots down his proposal, saying that negotiations would only lead to open revolt, which doesn't really make any sense to the gang of 4, but I get to choose. I chose Schmidt's proposal because we are doing a reformist playthrough after all. The Treaty of Frankfurt, what are they doing? Jan held his binoculars tightly to his face. Next to him, he could see the action was currently happening. I have no idea, Jan replied. There is a man in a suit. He is talking to the army right now. They're setting up speakers. They are negotiating. You can't be serious. A similar look in his eyes. The Germans negotiating with slaves? Good afternoon, the voice boomed. My name is Schmidt, Minister of Foreign Affairs and lead diplomat of the Reich. I have come to discuss terms of surrender so that none may die on this day. If you cooperate, send a sign. With that, the man retreated back to the police cordon. Perhaps they could succeed after all. Now the negotiations opened, and the slaves are telling Schmidt that there's no compromise between freedom and slavery, and they want freedom. Then Schmidt offers a compromise, saying that, okay, we'll try your leaders and put them in jail and stuff and imprison them, but the innocent slaves go free. And the slaves accept those terms, but whether Albert Speer is going to let that happen, or whether Schmidt was even telling the truth, is a whole different story. And now Schmidt has to go and discuss this with Speer. Schmidt and the gang entered the room for all smiles. Schmidt himself carrying a healthy number of papers. Spider passively watched as Schmidt carefully set them in front of Speer, who began to look through them. Midway through the first one, he stopped, looking back up to Schmidt. I'd prefer not to be looking through these all day. Is it possible for you to give a summary? In exchange for the freedom of the hostages and the surrender of all arms to the leaders in the factories, we would let the slaves go free. Hold on, Speer interrupted. You're letting all the slaves go free, as in all of them? He paused for a moment. Yes, my Führer. Oh my gosh. It was the only way to a successful deal. Speer sighed, Jesus Christ. The here is going to frickin' shred me. Do you understand? The conservatives, the militarists, the businesses, they're all going to shred me. My Führer, it was the only way. While the intentions of Herr Schmidt are certainly in the right place, I fear that we may see a wave of revolt among the slave populace when they learn of our softness on this issue. Now Schmidt was the one interrupting. For God's sake, Speidel, what are you going to do about this? Your solution would have killed 100 people, probably more. Schmidt threw his hands up in the air. My Führer, all of the details are in the folders. I'm sure if you can find them for yourself. All that remained in the room was Speer and his thoughts, and the mountain of papers on his desk. The problem with letting all the slaves go free is that they could still be angry at us. You know, I wouldn't blame them. I would do the same thing for the things they've done. We'll see. Yo, Finland won? And a competitor. Okay, so after this, I should be able to get rid of IG Farben. No, not IG Farben. Simons. Yeah, they must be waiting for us to take action. Okay. Can I dismantle? Yeah, here we go. Boom. Dismantled. There we go. Okay, that's 1 down, 3 to go. The next one is probably this one, the Reich's work. They should be pretty easy to do as of now. Simon's dismantled. A bittersweet moment. We get production units, regime stability increases, we get political power. So overall, it's good. More losing political power. Why? I don't want to lose political power. I need it to get rid of these companies. I would continue to dismantle the companies one by one, continuing into the next year. The second last to go was IG Farben. I got rid of them pretty easily. And the last was Mercedes-Benz, as we know it. More campaigning. This is the maximum campaign. 100 political power invested, $10 million a month. And if we're not the most liberal reformist Germany I've ever seen, which is still probably extremely right-wing, then I don't know what is. What? That didn't make any sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. You ever see a man with 7 research slots? What is 1 research with 7 research? Everything is ahead of time at this point. I'm liking that. I'm liking it. I probably need more artillery. There we go. Oh yeah. That's the division we're looking for. Why can't I do this? We need at least 75% regime stability. I can wait for that. I can get that. Hang on. What are we at? 73. Oh, I can so get that. 78. It's 88. There we go. For all. At this point, I had no idea what was going to happen next. I had finished my focus tree, I dismantled all the companies, and I was just waiting for something to happen. So far, I've just been messing around with stuff. Like, I haven't actually gone to war. I don't know if there will be a war. I mean, we are playing liberal Germany. Maybe there won't be a war because I don't see us attacking anyone. I have finished pretty much. Yeah, I have finished the focus tree. Imminent collapse. Hang on. Let me finish what I was going to say. Okay. I have finished this. So I don't know if there's going to be another focus tree or what's going to happen beyond 1970. So we'll see. But imminent collapse of the SS Burgundy. Apparently, because of the French Civil War, the SS Burgund, Heinrich Himmler's state, is about to collapse, so it's time we invade. However, we have the decision to move our border westward or not, and I choose to do it because, again, why not? I have so much equipment. I have 391,000 guns, but I can't produce more divisions because there's a division limit. Where even is this division limit telling? Where is it? Is it like... I can just train them forever. It's not... I don't actually... Oh, oops, I did not mean to do that. The division limit is there because I can train it, but it will take like 100 years to actually get the division out fully trained. So it doesn't work. All right, German invasion of Burgundy. I didn't think this was worthy of an event transition because we kind of just rolled over them. It wasn't a big deal. Please say we've already seized all their nuclear weapons with our invasion. Annexation of SS Burgund. Now I'm gonna leave this on. German forces have seized control of the Burgundian territory and confirmed the final surrender or annihilation of hostile SS and resistance forces. Were able to secure all critical nuclear and civilian infrastructure, thwarting his desperate efforts. The traitor is dead, but his legacy remains. Pax Commission Frank Reich becomes owner and controller of all that. Burgundian inheritance. And they join all of our economic stuff. Okay. Yeah, cool. Okay, and look, our border's moved. We've actually taken all this now. That's a lot. We might as well just annex it all, right? So it's the USSR versus the Federation. Yeah, we're getting into the end game now. Nothing much is happening for me. I'm just kind of researching random stuff like that. I don't know what that does. I didn't bother to look at what that did, but I'm sure it did something. I was right. This was the end game, but it is only just the beginning of the end game. And just as I said that, the world began heating up around us, and what would soon follow would be the oil crisis. This oil crisis is a series of civil wars that happen across a bunch of Arab countries. Think of it like the TNO Arab Spring, where the people want to be no longer exploited for their oil. And this, well, would have disastrous effects on our economy. Oh, I can. Send all this. Volunteers too. I could, but they're gonna lose, man. Look at this. No, they've lost. Alright, that's another defeat in the Cold War, guys. Yep, my investments did not work. I may have been a bit late to Yemen, but Oman, Egypt, Sudan, Iraq would all be a chance to redeem myself. Okay, we have a new focus tree. Okay, it's not over. Let us begin with Achilles' heel struck. Not to mention, we've also suffered an embargo from the USA and the OFN, meaning oil is definitely not flowing. Oh, we got this. The Reich in crisis. The oil crisis has made social tensions in the Reich reach a boiling point. As the Zollverein economy collapses and the people embark on protests against the NSDAP and for liberalization, getting both the people as well as the economy back under control quickly is of utmost importance. So we have economy status, which is collapsing, social status, which is rebellious. Improving the economy inevitably comes at the cost of polarizing society even more, but without such improvements, Germany is bound for catastrophe. What does one do in this situation? Take to the streets. Social tensions worsen somewhat. Our regime stability goes down. What is it? What is our regime stability? 19%. Yep, it's not looking good, Chief. The economy is collapsing and people are angry, not to mention the slaves reloader. However, I would do my best, giving armaments and sending volunteers to the countries that had our best interests. We can send volunteers here in Sudan as well. Let's send 4 there too. Heinrich's baton connected with the rider's face with a sickening crunch. And he fell on the floor, stepping over the limp body. He forced his shield forward, breaking the... Okay, this is basically a protest. Only violence can suppress violence. Manpower negative 47. Change, how can I fix the economy? There's nothing I can do. I don't know. What am I supposed to do? What do they expect me to do? Yeah, I don't think I'm supposed to do anything here. Everything is just kind of falling apart. Propaganda. Oh my gosh, it's 6 and 4. That's so bad. I don't have any decisions to improve it. I think I just got to win these wars, right? Whoa, what is this? We have like 3 decisions here. Well, 1 decision on 3 different options. All right, the emergency meeting commences. Oh. No. What? Our Iraq just lost? How? I was just winning. Just then. So now all that's left is Oman, Egypt, and Sudan. Hopefully we can win those ones. Okay, we're winning in Sudan. They have oil there. This affects both the US and Japan. I've been told by the R&D that Japan would be hit especially hard by this, so we shouldn't suffer so much as they will. Oh, but we will suffer all right. In a single room, the 5 men spent hours debating 1,000 years. 2 sides stood opposed to one another as they all had convened 2 topics, the economy and the repatriation of the slaves. You would cause a revolt by doing that. Schmidt shot the glare towards Erhard, who only looked at him with a musing of disappointment in his eyes. And we would cause a revolt with our citizens if our economy crashed because we prioritize the slaves over our own. It seems now that due to the oil crisis, the Reich can no longer afford to repatriate the slaves, which is basically a word to just send them back home where they came from, not actually looking after them, but just like stop them from being slaves. The matter is resolved, the repatriation will be stopped. So the repatriation of the slaves will be halted indefinitely. We complete focus must seen. The wheel turns. And remember that decision I have to make in my focus tree? Well, here it is. The gang can surely figure this out. The reformist cause benefits a lot. So we are still reformist. We've gone reformist again. All right, this one. Stability will increase 15 days to the wheel turns. What is that mission? The wheel turns. What is happening? The present is nothing but the egg from which the future shall hatch, no matter what it may be. What is this? Hey, I'm just going to distribute propaganda. Everything is fine. I've decided to support the Gang of Four because they are the most reformist and I want to see what happens. We won in Oman. Oh, I'm so happy now. We actually won something in the Cold War. Look at this. Victory in Oman. Implement economic reforms, yes. Social status is really, really bad though. Economy is still catastrophic, but it's not the end of the world. Social status is the end of the world. It's anarchic. Uh-oh. Hey, we did it. We won in Egypt. Let's go. Okay, now, did we win in Sudan? Oh, we did. Oh, nice. Look. I think they're in the Reichspakt. No, they're not. But they're in United Arab States. Okay, so they got their own thing. Oh, wait. They're in a faction with, like, all these guys. We may have won 3 out of the 5 civil wars, but the oil crisis is still very much present, not to mention the economy is still doing very bad. And this would pave the way for an even bigger crisis, one that wouldn't affect the world, but us only. Kaisinger dropped the file Speer handed him. This is, I know, right? It's insane. In the old days, that kind of behavior would have gotten you put in a camp, but now they can just do it freely. Speer ranted as he paced around his office. The other guy nervously looked at Speer. Speer, you can't just mow them down. He leaned on the desk and tried to hide his enthusiasm. They can probably be talked out of it with token reforms. Token reforms? You want me to reform more to stop reform? They're starting to form political parties. You give them an inch, they take a mile, Speer shouted. Speer, calm down. It's not like they're demanding you resign. There's more important news. He looked around the room anxiously, trying to see if anyone else was listening. De facto political parties are starting to form underground. Schmidt was ecstatic. Well, I learned it from Speer. He's suspicious of us, but... Oh, wait, these guys are actually against Speer? Wait, whoa. This whole time I haven't even realized that. I've only just realized that now. Guys, that's the plot twist. I learned it from Speer. He's suspicious of us. Be careful. He hung up rapidly. Starting to happen. Remove 10 days from the wheel turns. So yeah, that's what it's talking about, the Gang of Four. So these 4 guys are all like pretending to be like Speer's friend. I knew they had different ideas to Speer, but I didn't realize that they were now actively working against him. Reform may come quicker than you think, and change is coming to the Reich. Okay, so now there's about to be a lot of reading, and if you don't really care about the lore and just want to see the gameplay, skip to this time on screen, but if you do want to know about the lore, then I just don't do anything. Tens of thousands of television sets and radios crackled in explosions of static. Greetings, comrades. The thick, Bavarian-accented German came from the shadowy figure holding a beer bottle in one hand and what seemed like a shotgun in the other. Who, you might be asking yourself, is this bizarre assailant haunting my television and my radio? Giving himself a cheer, he turned his head to the left, and as sounds of the boots slamming against wood and sharp, loud orders were given, followed by gunshots and screams, another laugh, desperate yet elated. There, my friends. He looked back to his viewers. Do you see? He asked, voice filling with calm rage. They'll shoot us, kill us, oppress us, and we'll take this standing down? No, so fight, goddammit. A hint of a smile in the clever darkness came as a bottle smashed into the ground and both hands gripped the gun, following a chunk of the pump. Some guys telling everyone on TV to fight. I'm guessing there's going to be an uprising. The door to the Volksschau began to shake, almost off its hinges, and the guards quickly moved to hold it shut. The students, the rioters, were trying to burst through into the chambers of government. Kiesinger tried to step forward to soothe the situation, but Erhard spoke first, glowing with fury. I am not the one who blew up the Middle East. If there is anyone to blame, it's our Führer and Hitler for mismanaging the economy so severely that such drastic measures were necessary. Speer had abandoned all of his calm facade. The Führer was angry and tense as anyone else in the room. Keep the Führer's name out of your mouth, he commanded. This is no failure of the government, this is a failure of the Reich's lead economists. As the tension escalated, no one in the chamber noticed that when the door finally gave, with a holler, the rioters rushed in, beginning to flip desks over and throw papers to the floor. A few of the bolder protesters grabbed members of parliament, trying to beat them bloody and raw, to avenge the common peoples of Germany. Blood splattered over the floors of the government, and Speer and his inner circle looked on in shock and horror. The Führer, safe above this madness, gave the order to scrambling guards. Clear them out. As the last rioter fled to escape the storm of bullets, the whole of the Reich's government was silent. He looked over his shoulder to these two, whom he expected to voice support, but both were silent. They did not understand the necessity of what had to be done. Speer noticed that these men whose job it was to televise the Reichstag sessions were quietly packing their equipment. Stop, he commanded, pointing at them. The German people must see that this was necessary. They obeyed, resuming their broadcast. I have only ever wanted the best for the Reich and its people. Please, I urge you, trust in me as you have always done. A scream cut through the air. This is your view of the best for Germany? Then you are a madman. What have you done, Speer? How are the people to trust you when you just shoot them down in the streets? People will trust me because I am the Führer, Speer shrieked, his face flushed with embarrassment and anger. How dare Schmidt do this in front of the Reichstag and all of Germany? Herr Schmidt, return to your seat. He did not move. Had this been planned? Who else was involved? Helmut, please sit down. Schmidt remained where he was. The Reich is dying. Herr Schmidt, Speer's voice shot back almost immediately. I would advise you cease this unprofessionalism at once. Unprofessionalism? Rage clouded Schmidt's thoughts. At a time like this, with bodies piling across Germany and Eastern Europe, all Speer cared about was the way he spoke. You can go to hell with your code of conduct, Speer. I will not sit in the Reichstag while what, Herr Schmidt? Speer practically yelled backwards, this calm demeanor crackling rapidly. To save Germany from, and I cannot tolerate childish tantrums. Save it by gunning down students, Schmidt asked, anger radiating from his body. I cannot sit here and listen to you to turn on who we are, promised freedom and democracy. Do not dare say that word in this building, Schmidt, Speer screamed, slamming on his fist on the desk. Sit down and be quiet for once, you liberal-loving bastard of a man. He had been within range. Schmidt would have thrown a punch at the decrepit Nazi, but instead he merely stood up from his seat and stormed out. As all of Germany watched with cameras rolling, this is all televised by the way, they're getting more organized, Kiesinger said with a smile on his face, demanding more. I've gotten reports of them demanding elections. The other three members of the Gang of Four all smiled back. It's finally happening. We're winning, Schmidt said. As if on cue, Speer burst into the room. Kiesinger, his voice snapped, and they all looked towards him, suddenly filled with unease. Speer looked more than just uneasy himself. The protesters keep filling the streets, and they're starting to ramp up their demands. The Reich seems like it's crumbling down all around me. What the hell did I ask you to help me fix this for? The rest of the gang stood in silence for a moment. Then Tresckow smiled and spoke. I think we can start getting excited now. Nothing was getting better. The podium thing was burning and Speer could only watch. Clearly, the military police he had sent in did nothing to alleviate the anger of the rioters. Perhaps one thing, Speer's realization that these fools could not be dealt with in peace. He had given them a chance to take the olive branch and they had merely spit on his hand. Minister of War, Herring von Tresckow, Speer coldly called. And Tresckow stood still, unflinching, gazing at the Führer with an emotionless stare. This revolt has gone too far. These madmen must learn what martial law is like. Tresckow shifted uncomfortably. Herr Speer, Not a second more did he continue when Speer cut in. Quickly and harshly, that was an order, Henning von Tresckow, and you will listen to it. The opening page. I'm sorry, I don't follow you. You're saying there's a rebellion on? They're all over the place. The diplomat's voice cracked over the radio, the rattle of rifle fire occasionally making its way onto the receiver. So, it's another slave rebellion. Well, do what we did with the last one. No, Helmut, you don't understand. This isn't some slave revolt. The whole frickin' city is up in arms. They've got the Reichsbanner flags, they're chanting. Reichsbanner? A shot of excitement fired up Schmidt's spine, quickly followed by fear. You can't put this down. They've got guns, they've got ammo, I think they've stolen a few tanks. Oh, the screeching of metal faintly pulsed through the receiver. Frick, oh, I've got to go. We're evacuating. Warsaw is lost. The line went dead with a slam. As Speer and the gang constantly bickered back and forth between each other, the revolt would only grow and expand across all of Eastern Europe. With each passing hour, reports of isolated uprisings in factories, slave mobs arming themselves in rebellious holdouts, the occasional gun battles with police and soldiers, and the slow consolidation of the rebels onto an organized army. He wouldn't take any more of it, he decided. From here on in, he would call the shots. Now was the time to really show who the true power in Germany was. It was him, Albert Speer. We're just getting started. All of Minsk is gone. Cool. He had felt tremors before, but not this bad. He hadn't the strength to open the constant flood of documents sent to his office. He didn't have to read them, of course. He knew exactly what direction this revolt would go. They would push, and the Wehrmacht would push back, until finally the Aryan Hill would stomp down and annihilate the petty resistance as the revolt gave way to the new order. My Führer, Schmidt began, and Speer took no chances, slamming a fist against the desk and glaring at him with rageful, tired eyes. "This nonsense again," he said, stirring himself into anger. "Helmut Schmidt, know your place. I've spent the last 2 decades trying to move past web after web, and now you're constantly biting at my ankles, here and there. I advised you, time and time again, that clashing with the slaves would ruin our international image." "To hell with your international image, you," Speer's eyes narrowed towards Schmidt. "You lying in bed with the Reich's banner, aren't you? I should have seen this earlier. I should have realized a decade ago. You are more than just some pathetic liberal. I know who you are now, Schmidt. You are a rat. Get out before I have you hanged as an enemy of the state." The revolt would spread throughout Eastern Europe, from central Poland all the way to Riga, eventually to Ukraine and Belarus, eventually making its way down to the Caucasus, completely cutting us off from our Moscow puppet. Eventually they formed one coherent state, with the capital of Kiev, branding the Nazi flag but with 3 arrows pointing down and to the left. This rain is crazy, man. It's like hailing out here. There's actual hail. Oh my gosh, I swear. The weather knows every time I play TNO, because whenever I play TNO it starts getting rainy and stormy outside. It's like the weather knows. Alright, the rain has stopped, so I'm going to quickly get through this. Downfall. Who was he? Albert Speer. What was his role? Führer of the Thousand-Year Reich. When Albert Speer received the news that Willy Brandt was now in support of the slave revolt, his mind went into a white haze of rage. Without thinking, he tore the classified document in half and reached for his gun. Storming out of his office, he began walking directly to Schmidt's office with only one thing on his mind, but something stopped him. Before he could turn around, pain shot through his arms. "Here," he said, wiggling the document mockingly in his hand, "is a list of all the terrible things you did during your tenure as Minister of Armaments and War Production." Flickering the lighter open near the paper, "is your freedom. Choose wisely, Herr Speer." Strength failed him as he attempted to break free. Schmidt, his lungs pained him. Schmidt. Glenn merely shook his head with disappointment. "Schmidt, you degenerate scumbag. Come out, so I can kill you." Speer is not having a good time. He's being blackmailed by the Gang of Four at this point, and I couldn't even imagine what's going through his head. Anyway, the slave revolt is now in full swing. Control over Eastern Europe has slipped from Germania, with both the slaves led by Willy, that's his name, alright, nice name, bro, and rebellious Wehrmacht under this guy, threatening to destroy everything Speer and gang have built over the years. Now, there is actually 2 problems for us to deal with. The first is the slave revolt, that's pretty standard, but the second is the rebellious Wehrmacht in Moscow, okay? That whole thing is just like broken away from us and we need to go deal with it. Ooh, okay, so if we can't launch it within 221 days, then this guy's invasion is going to occur, and then he's going to become really powerful, and Germany is going to suck, and we can't have that. We can't be having that, so this rebellious guy, so he needs to be dealt with, and we must invade him first before he invades the slaves. We're coming to the end of the year, and it is time for me to go to bed. And so tomorrow, I will pick this up. Okay, 1972, it is the next day. Preparedness is 80, which is almost there, but social agitation, I don't know how we bring that down. The Gang of Four is decreasing social agitation for me, so I just have to wait a little bit longer, then I can launch Operation Full Auto. Shit. Wait, I can launch it right now. The military is prepared to strike against Skorna. It is time for yet another adventure in the east. I launch my invasion of the rebellious Wehrmacht from St. Petersburg. Even with my division limit, I still managed to pacify Moscow. But even further east, we got some troubling news. Oh, the Soviet Union conquered. Alright, we actually have the USSR back. Oh! Oh! We got the super event for it. Moscow is in our hands. What are they at? Not even 50%. After pulling off a few more encirclements and breaking through their front line, it was over and we had pacified Moscow. Albert Speer sat in the front and his hands were pressed tightly together. The other 5, the gang and Hans Spider, were mainly the ones convening with each other. All of them, however, and especially Schmidt, could still feel the rage emanating from the Führer, who hadn't spoken a word since the meeting. Kessinger cut the silence. Speidel, you're saying we remain quiet? The general nodded. Right. And the hope in doing so is that the slaves will eventually reach out to us, seeing as if we have no plan or any moves of our own. If I may, Erhard cut in, shouldn't we move our troops away from the border, just to let them know that we don't mean any harm? And let the bandits move in and pillage our German settlers, he shouted. The rest stared in silence. Ridiculous, that this sheer insanity. They can't even control themselves to act peacefully, let alone we decide to give them so much trust that they do not deserve. If they begin to leverage diplomacy on their own terms, we could start things off strongly with them and use that to our advantage. Let the waiting game begin then. So we're not removing our troops from the border, but we're not going to do anything. Eventually, after waiting long enough, the slaves reached out privately to Herr Schmidt and the gang. Willy Brandt, the leader of the slave revolt, offered to meet Schmidt and the gang in Warsaw. However, here I have an option. Ooh, okay, what do we do? So we can either go there and just like not tell Speer, and then the reformist cause benefits, regime stability decreases, and we can negotiate without Speer's oversight, or we tell Speer, and then this will limit us to agreements within Speer's vision. Now, for this video, I'm going to go to this negotiation without Speer. He has absolutely no idea we are negotiating with the slaves without him. However, if you want to see what would happen if we do bring him along, I'll be uploading a bonus video for my channel members and Patreon supporters, link in description. Sign up any level of channel membership or Patreon and you'll get that video. Anyway, let's get back to it. Go to the meeting bearing no arms. When Schmidt stepped through the door into St. Alexander's Church, he felt himself enter another world. Something about its air was not oppressive and dreadful, and he could feel outside. There were only 4 faces he saw. The only one he recognized by face was Brandt, but he could recognize the others by association. One was this guy, a Catholic priest. Schmidt could immediately recognize in his clothing. Another was another guy, yada yada. Schmidt at first bit his tongue. He didn't want to risk saying the wrong thing, but then he realized just exactly where he was. Friend. He had a laugh through his nose. It's not exactly what I would call him. After that beautiful introduction, they draft up a series of demands that Schmidt must fully agree to. Section 1, Paragraph 1. No man is to be deprived of the basic rights granted by the law of the Reich. Paragraph 2. No man may be subjected to limitation of his freedom without a judiciary acting sentence him thusly. Paragraph 3. No man shall be subjected to forced labour without a judiciary act sentencing him thusly. All men currently subjected to the aforementioned measures without a judicial act sentencing him there is to be freed immediately. Economic reparation for the time spent in condition of unjust deprivation of basic human rights, unjust detention, and unjust labour will be distributed according to future law. And of course, that's what we're here for, so we had no option but to agree. But then the others in the room began speaking up about their own demands, such as freedom of speech, etc. Regime stability will decrease, but total freedom of speech will be established. We got freedom of speech here, guys. Let's go. There was another one where it was like any political ideology is allowed to form a party, which is good. And I agree to all of them because, you know, why not? However, there was still one issue. We had to go back and tell Speer. Back in Germania, and the return to the Reichskanzler only filled him with dread. He did not know what to expect when he walked through the main door into the building. Many thoughts popped up into his head. Most of them were a mixture between unpleasant and gruesome, leaning towards the latter, but Schmidt couldn't worry himself forever. He had to continue. So when Schmidt entered the Reichskanzler and stepped into the long, glossy hallway, the lights from the patterned glass above shone down into the room and illuminated none other than Albert Speer. Herr Schmidt. His tone was a casual one, but Schmidt didn't mistake the intention. It was as if Speer was the one in control here. I'm ordering your immediate arrest. I suggest you do not flee. Schmidt shook his head, and the police stopped moving towards him, standing halfway between Speer and Schmidt. I'm afraid not, my Führer. You could already see the hatred begin to burn brighter in his eyes, and how his hands began trembling. There will be no arrest. You shall be aware that there is absolutely no reason why this order should be carried out. Do you have a reason, my Führer? Schmidt, for all these years, with an unsteady hand, Speer reached into the coat he was wearing, and Schmidt's eyes widened. I made sure to empty out the Reichskanzler today, just... No, Schmidt shouted, and the police turned around, themselves spiking fear as when they saw the Führer draw a pistol, just so I could kill you. Fortunately, he missed, and Schmidt lived to see another day. And with the reforms and the negotiations all complete, the slave revolt came to an end. Peacefully, and with Albert Speer having no more influence in the party. Oh, there's a new picture of Albert Speer, look at this. He doesn't look very happy. This is... Albert Speer, shatter or something, I don't know. Ideology drift defense goes down, National Socialism support goes down. One seldom recognizes the devil when he puts his hands on his shoulder. Dude, look at this. Wait. We're a transitioning democracy now. Oh, look, we got our head of government as Kessinger. Our ministers, there's Schmidt. And there's Erhard, and there's Tresckow. The Gang of Four are all here, and Albert Speer is just the figurehead. The NSDAP has been given a mortal blow, and Speer himself, bitter and increasingly more withdrawn at his loss of influence. The Gang of Four emerged victorious from the battle with the Führer. Should the right of people prevail, it will be one of hope. From the entire Speer team, thank you for playing. We hope you've enjoyed it. And so dusk approaches the new order. And there it is. The Gang of Four emerged victorious over Speer, with the slave revolt being put down peacefully and actually being liberated. You know, this was really good. I really enjoyed reading all the events. Not that I'm any good at reading. You guys are probably getting frustrated. I had to make so many cuts because the amount of errors I made when I was reading. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see what happens when Speer comes along to the meeting, well then you guys know what to do. Patreon or channel membership at any level. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.